Welcome back to Intake. Today we're talking about the Asian culture and mental health altogether. I wish you all could hear some of the stuff that we talk about behind
break,
the camera on break. Today we have Mai with us, and Mai is from Vietnam, and she was sharing some very interesting stuff with us. Mai, what I want to know is, and I tried to look it up, and I don't know if this is a terminology that your culture use only, and it's called Prince-itis. Can you talk about that? Prince-itis.
I'm not really sure you can Google Prince-itis, but it's basically a term we use that because, in every culture, the oldest son carries the name, carries the family shoulder and everything. So that child get treated completely different from everyone else. But it's to the extreme, I don't say from what I see in my culture, like they get the best clothes, the best school, the best everything. Their expectation for them is very high. But the thing is, they get treated like prince. So they don't like clean the house. They don't do the typical stuff that help around the house sometimes. They just do understand the idea of it, but they're not mandatory. So the girls are mostly the ones that take care. It's considered girl house in the house, take care of the home.
Right.
And the boys don't really do much, technically in the yard, but the oldest are not expected to work as hard as the rest. Because they need to be, because they're the oldest, they need to be prince. Basically, the house, they need to be able to look good, be educated, they carry the family name, carry everything of the family to the next generation.
It's like the good pair of shoes. Like, you can't put them out too much. Don't get them scuffed up,
But then, but the thing is, when they move on and try to go on with their life, they get married, they're confused. They don't know how to interact sometimes. They don't know how to interact with a girl. They're so precious.
Right.
They're treated like treasure. And sometimes when they get into society and life, and it's almost like they're confused. They don't know what to do.
Because they just become a normal person in society.
They become a normal person. And to them, this is not normal. It's like, go clean the dishes at the restaurant.
Schema.
If you're working.
That's
not normal. I don't do dishes. It's kind of like in that sense of awareness, it's like society finally hit them and realized this is not how the world going to treat me. My family treat me differently than the world would.
That actually causes anxiety too.
Yeah, and it seems like it would actually be kind of detrimental to success because if they're not meeting the expectations of the workplace, what the workplace expects, or familial expectations once you're married, it seems like that would be counterintuitive. It wouldn't. They couldn't.
It's almost set for success, but then it's causing them to fail at the same time.
Yeah,
right.
It's not intentionally do that. I'm not saying all of them fall that way, but a lot of them are they never understand how to wash dishes in their house. Simple thing like that. Because they're being baby and prince and treated like a treasure, and the whole family, the whole community will treat them exactly the same way. But then when society actually hit them, especially if you're in a Western culture now, growing up at home, you get treated differently. But then when you go to work and stuff, you don't get treated that way. So it's kind of like, I don't understand. I'm confused. Who am I? Am I precious? Not precious.
Right.
I have a question. When it comes to something like that, if they're treated, as if they're glass and, they can't break and stuff like that, are they allowed to have autonomous thinking? Are they allowed to do that?
They are to a certain extent.
Oh, okay.
Because you can,
There's a limit.
If it is affect the family, then it's a problem.
Oh, okay.
They can be in a way the wild child, but as long as their action doesn't reflect on, cause any drama in the family,
Gotcha.
Financially,
Okay.
emotionally, and a disgrace, then it's okay. But they're more lenient sometimes because they're the oldest, so it's almost like they're always the best somehow.
Right.
They have to be the best.
Okay. Shauna was asking a question when we went on break about the pressures of being in youth who are in school, especially in Western society. I read an article, 2018 article from APA, and it was talking about the myth that everybody think that the suicidal rates are higher among Asians, which is so not true. The suicide is higher among Asians, which is not true, but the suicidal ideations were higher among Asian youth in colleges than it was among Caucasian youth, which was, different. And that's because of the pressures with education and all of the traditions. And so I think that's what Shauna was talking about is how does that affect you as one in your culture you know, just with that pressure, because there are a lot of suicidal ideations among the Asian culture, especially among the young people.
It's the pressure of being perfect. Like
Okay.
even as you're little, it's expected for you to do well in school. It's expected for you to be perfect. Like if you don't look pretty as a girl, you're when you graduate high school, technically, if you even get to that point, your gift for your graduation is get plastic surgery.
I was about to get into
Yeah.
colorism within that culture.
One, if you don't look perfect when you're little, when you hit your graduation, your family is saving money for you to get plastic surgery to make sure you have beautiful eyes. If you too squinky, then you gotta lift your eye. If you're fat, we're gonna pump you up. Perfection mean a lot, because then that way, if you don't look perfect, then there's no one gonna want to marry you.
Right.
You're not gonna be successful in life because you can't get a job looking ugly. That's considered how they feel about it. Like eye lifting is like one of the biggest things, because if I can't see your eye, how people gonna see your face? So that's for I can't tell you anybody I met that's Asian that's roughly in their early 20s have not got plastic surgery. I can't tell you.
They also do skin bleaching too, don't they?
They believe in a perfectionist. So like, you know, perfectionists consider, you know, when your skin's lighter. I mean, you have
That's
money.
the colorism.
Yeah.
Because you
leaking in,
consider
yeah.
you stay in a house and you work indoor. You don't work in the yard. That's kind of how they feel about it. That means you have money. You have money to stay indoor to have people work outside.
Wow.
So you don't have to be in the sun.
Which is another.
That's another topic.
Yeah,
really.
since we're talking about colorism, because
Wow.
you and I had this conversation earlier, and that is, I have always been told, and I expect it, especially from the Vietnam culture, that you all don't really care for African Americans. And I've always wondered why that is. Like even now when I walk into an Asian store, I could care less about how well I look. I mean, they start to follow us. And can I be real? Most of the hair stores are owned by Asians. Yeah. And so they start to follow us around as if we're some threat to them. And I was just wondering, like, why is that?
Well, I guess during the time when people come over here, I want to say because the way the image that we're given when we first come here.
Yeah.
So when you're first coming to America, you're basically living, you're immigrating here. So we live in like sponsor home and stuff like that. And a lot of the sponsor homes are actually in bad neighborhood. And in the bad neighborhood, basically probably like, you know, it's mostly black. So we see the black community interact with each other. We see the crime. We see the stuff that happened on the street, and we don't want that life. And then it's also stuff that being told us, you know, like, you know, stay away from them. They're bad and stuff like that. This is what American person are telling us. No matter what shade you are, it's still the same information to give out. It's like, stay away from them. They're bad. Don't talk to them. So it's like we're being told something before we even get to know the person.
I got you.
So, and this is what we see because we're living in the bad neighborhood. So we, you know, like a lot of us will come and live in the same house, and they work so hard to get out of that neighborhood because they feel unsafe. And the safer neighborhood stereotype is more like considered a white community, you know, stuff like that. That's what stereotyping, and that's what we see when we first come here. So, but we don't get to know anybody. We don't get to talk to nobody really. We're just doing what our sponsor is telling us, and we're going by what our sponsor is telling us, and whoever's helping us out. And we have no one else here. We're the first generation here. Who else are we going to believe?
Right.
So if this person is telling me stay away from that person,
That's
or this
what
is
you're
a
gonna
bad
do.
community, and this is what we're being told, like, who else I'm going to believe? They brought me across the world to be here.
Right.
Who else should I believe?
Well, and that's also your culture is you do and
and the culture crashed into it.
Yeah.
So we're doing what we're being told. So now you got your parent being told by someone else, and that someone else is not above your parent. So you're gonna do what that person is telling you because you won't survive. Because that's basically it. If we can't survive, then we have a problem here. If we don't do what our sponsors telling us, we may go back home. We don't want to go back home. Our country at the time was communist. You know, it was during a wartime. No one want to go back.
Right.
You know, so we did everything we could to prevent us from looking bad, prevent us from looking like we're doing something bad, or prevent us from looking shame or any that kind of way. So that's the same thing as our new community. So we gotta make sure our community, we're just quiet, we're not involved. So that way no one can claim like, oh, they were doing something on the street and she was talking to that person. So we just trying to protect what we have brought over.
Assimilation.
Yeah.
It's like you come over here and you see what's being done,
Yeah.
which is a different topic, but you can see what's going on with a race divide. And if it looks better on this side,
Right.
I'm just coming over here. I'm gonna have to roll with them because
Right.
it don't look good for you.
Right.
Well, and it's coming over and looking at who's in the power position.
Yeah.
Who
Yep,
has
exactly.
the privilege in this country, and we're going to go with them
Yeah.
and what they have to say.
And like I want to say, like also news and stuff like that, play a game into it, because that's all. When you turn on the news back in like the early like 80s and 90s, what do you see? It's mostly just black crime, and it was a lot of like black on black crime. So it's like you don't want to be part of that,
Right.
so you want to stay away from all that stuff. So you don't want to be involved. So it's just a sense of what we see at first and what we're presented, and then people like media can really brainwash you.
Oh yeah.
So media is a sort of power itself. So we watch the news and we go crazy seeing what's going on, and we're like, oh, this is like, I don't want to be part of that. I don't want to be part of that community. I don't want to talk to anybody in that community. I don't want to be involved. I want to keep quiet. Because if you get involved or you look like you're involved, you can destroy the way you look, your family, the way they look on you.
Right.
And for the longest time, I want to say interracial couple was like not allowed. So like seeing a black person with an Asian person was like, what?
Yeah.
Like, is he really treating you right? That is the first thing that they'll, the first reaction. But then if you're marrying a Caucasian person, they're like, oh, you have money.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
pretty much how
yeah.
they see it.
yeah.
That's just point blank
Right.
the answer.
Right.
But the thing is, that's not the case all the time.
Yeah.
It's just
No.
but that's the stereotype. That's just the stereotype that what being put on them. And then, but also history itself. Like, no one black really came to Vietnam, where my family was. Like, I want to say less than 15% of the military that was from America was black or anything else beside white. So we didn't see no black people until we came to America. So to us, it's like, this is odd. We're so used to seeing white. I personally didn't see any other race until I went to school when I was a child. And I went to school like 5-year-old. That's when you started going to school.
Yeah.
And like seeing all these people is like, I'm used to seeing white people because but I'm not used to seeing black because this is weird. Like, this girl. Like, I was curious as a child. So I made friends with these people. Like a lot of my little friends when I met over there, they're Haitian, Jamaican, and like a lot of island people live here in Florida. So I meet a lot of different culture. And as a little, I'm like, oh, I love different culture. I love learning other people. And for me, like, for the longest, I didn't see color. Like, I see my friends are black. I see my hand white. But the race of it, like, the racial conflict of it, I didn't see that until, I want to say, when I was, like, 10. Where I realized I had to pick a side if I want to hang out with my friends. So, like, but then I'm in the middle. Who's my friend?
Yeah.
Like, why can't I be friends with both of them?
Right.
So, that itself is another subject. But as you're little, like I'm saying, like, you've been taught stay away from them. But now you're like, they're my friend. Why can't I hang out with them? They're just kids like me.
Right.
Yeah.
But society see things differently. People judge you about the way you look.
Right.
So like you can't help it. That's how society is. How the community is. So even within my community, like if I hang out with a certain race, they're gonna look at me differently. So I had to hide my friend because of the color of their skin. That was hard to swallow because like these are my friends.
Which adds another layer of stress.
There's another layer of shame. So it's like I'm not allowed to talk to them outside of school.
Right.
If I talked, and it's crazy because I grew up with no Asian people around me. And in the class, I was the only person. In the whole school, I probably was the only two person, and there's only two of us. But we were so distant from each other because we don't want trouble. We just keep quiet. We didn't talk to each other. As much as I tried to talk to the other person, they didn't want to talk to me because they want to stay out of trouble.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I keep hearing as a constant theme. We just stay quiet.
Just stay
Everything
quiet.
is, we stay quiet.
Stuff it.
No.
Stuff,
Make it
yes.
away, keep it to myself. I can't imagine the anxiety that has to cause. And what am I doing wrong right now? There's always something or somebody.
Yeah, you're
pointed
just
out.
constantly trying to stay out of trouble. That's basically what it is. And it's sad because, like, the minute you are in trouble, you don't even know that. Like,
But that's the thing, what is trouble? At that point, it's like almost, if I breathe too fast, that's trouble. If I stand over here and do my hair a little bit differently, that's trouble. It's like,
it's very intense.
yeah, they put
It's
you in a
almost
state
like
of fear.
You're honestly fearing something. I want to say, growing up, I'm used to being yelled at or being slapped when I question. Like I expected, I asked the question, like she's gonna slap me. That's how I feel about it. But the thing is, I was being rebellious because I was questioning because I'm becoming westernized a little bit. but I was just fighting it so much that I'm at the point in my life where I'm starting to realize this is not right. This is not how I want to live my life.
Right.
And like for my family and my community, a lot of things I do shock them. Like I'm not a doctor. I'm not a lawyer. I'm an entrepreneur in a community. I'm a filmmaker. They're like, they look at a lot of the young girls look at me like she's different. Like, and I feel like in a way I'm enlightening them. There's another way out.
Yeah.
There's another way of life. Cause I meet people. I have students and they look at me crazy when I was like, no, I don't do that. I'm just, I'm here. I'm trying to teach y'all and I'm trying to get them to understand there's just because your parents say that, you don't forget yourself.
Yeah.
Because nowadays if we continue this pattern and we have to talk about like suicidal is really, really high because the pressure of being perfect, the pressure of being the best child, being the good daughter, being the good son, being the good husband and wife is so intense. It drained people. And then it drained them to the point where they don't talk to each other. And when they don't talk to each other, things just build up. And after year and year, people can sleep next to each other, be in the same house for 20 years or so, to the day they die, and still never tell them like the truth. And you live and you sleep on these lies and these pressure. Things happen. You can never vent. So you slowly just die inside and just continue life doing what you need to do. But you mentally, you're inside, you die.
I wanted to ask you this question because we were talking a little bit about it, and hopefully you can shed some light on it, about a forest. Is it
It's
about
the
like
forest. Remember the forest in Japan where people go and kill themselves?
Oh, it's known for that.
Yeah.
It's known for that. I mean, I
know it's a different culture, but I was like,
But I mean, it's pretty much the same thing. Like they all eventually, the forest like where they commit suicide. I think it's Japan is known for that, and just the pressure of society is like you just want to let go. You just want to be free. You never have a sense of freedom. You never have. There's so much noise around you, so much voice telling you to do this and that, and you have such a hard time hearing your own voice. And then your only voice was just, can I just leave this world? And me personally, like I almost committed suicide several times, but it just in different stage of life, I had different voice telling me not to. Because as a child, I was like, I can't do this. If I do this, who's gonna take care of my mom?
yeah.
Who's gonna take care of my brother and sister? They depend on me, emotionally, financially, and everything. So for me that'd be so selfish of me to live this world.
Yeah.
So like,
even in
the
that,
the culture itself manipulate you how you feel.
Yeah.
So you can. I feel it's like bulletproof in a way, because like even when I try to kill myself,
That was interesting.
But I got it. It made sense.
in a way, it's like even when I try to kill myself, I'm still thinking about
The
my
dang
feelings.
culture.
But it's changed for me personally. Changed over time, where I see stuff, I hear stuff, and I'm starting to feel like we can't have this. Like a lot of these women have the same drama, same problem. They have husbands, but they don't have sex with their husband.
Right.
It's considered as sexless marriage. We all know in our culture, and it's like it's okay to have that. And I'm like, and stuff like that. It's just interesting to me as I see the Western culture and the Asian culture just crash in my life. And I'm like, what do I want in my life?
Right.
No one ever asked me that.
Right.
But then when I go to school, and my teacher, what do you want to be when you grow up? I'm like, I don't know. I mean, whatever my parents tell me. That's pretty much what my answer was.
Right.
And my parent wants me to be a doctor and all this stuff, just like typical family would. And I didn't see that in myself. Like I didn't see that. I see like it's almost like I have such a good heart that I can't be a doctor because a doctor has his limit. So why would I be a doctor?
Right. Hold that. I love talking to you. We need to take a quick break. Stay right there. some great conversation with our guest, Mai Nguyen. Mai, I'm like, you have so much that you're sharing with us, and it's like, I want so much more, but I want to keep it within the context, and I want to ask you, how does the Asian culture see mental health?
I mean, that word is almost like non-existent. It's, even though we have mental health, but it's not being recognized in that way. It's more recognized, like I said before, it's just life. So yes, I'm depressed. So what? Does that affect your family? If that affect your family, you need to change yourself to not affect your family.
Okay.
You know, I have to hide it from my family. If I'm sad, I can't cry in front of my family. I gotta keep that in me. I had to cry in privately. So to let my family see my emotion can affect them. So that's affect the family. So that will affect us how we are, and that will affect the community. You know, if I just, for example, we have our moments at a time where maybe we just want to cry in the car. But if I let my neighbors see it and it spread rumors and all that stuff, it affects the livelihood of my face of my family.
Wow.
So I can't let that happen. And if I'm depressed, then there's something wrong with me. And it's not like, oh, we need to change the way we act, the way we talk, or the way we see things. It's just something wrong with me mentally. So we do have cases where people like come out, seek for help, but then other people look at you like you're a disease. They don't want to talk to you no more. Your friends and family will back away.
Wow.
Like there's no support. And like, okay, you need help. Let us help you. Let's take you to a doctor. Let's take you to a therapist. There's no support in that system. There might be at first, but at the end of the day, it's more like just like, oh, she might have a disease. If she's depressed, if she talked to her cousin might get depressed too, and a domino effect. So everybody will just look at you and back away. So then now you're
keep you
alone.
further isolated.
Yeah, so it just worsened the situation.
Wow.
So now you have nobody to talk to. But then the first step is usually like, you know, your parent. You know, like, mom, like, I need help. There's something wrong with me. You know, I need to talk to somebody. At first you try to talk to your parent, and your parents seem to not have the answer. And if they don't have the answer, they're just like, you be fine. Get over it. You know, you be fine. Just don't think about it. But you constantly, yourself, you have to keep thinking about it because it's just affecting you.
Right.
And it affects you so much, but they don't want to help you because if they help you, they have to admit there's something wrong with you.
Right.
To admit there's something wrong with you, then this whole domino effect of like doctors and everybody know, the family find out, like they're shamed. And then if you consider have a health problem, then now you're not considered to be more like you can't marry because you have issue.
Oh.
Because since we're on that topic, there is this idea that if you're not married by a certain time, you're considered a throwaway woman.
Yeah, the
Can you talk
leftover
about
girl.
that?
That's
The
what
leftover
we are considered the leftover
leftover
girl.
girl.
I'm considered as a leftover girl because I'm past my age to actually get married. I'm past the age where I actually have kids. So I'm past the age where I should already have everything together. So we will basically say we have the woman clock, right? We have a certain time in our life we want to have kids. There's a certain time we should marry. But it's more extreme, I want to say, in the Asian culture. Like, by the time we hit 25, we should be married and have kids. If we have a career, our career should be done and ready and already there. If we don't have a career, it's kind of like whatever now. Or your job is to be a wife.
Jeez.
And the pressure is so pushed on young age. Like, I have cousins who are roughly my age or a little younger. All of them are married. I'm the oldest almost. And I'm not married. I'm in my 30s. I'm going to be 30 and I'm not married. I don't have a kid. I don't have a husband. But to them, like, then you're sad and depressed. Like, no one want to talk to you. Like, we can't let our kids say this is okay. This is not okay. Being this old and not married, have kids is not okay. But
Young.
Yeah, but in the Western culture, that's okay.
Yeah.
We can have kids anytime, marry anytime, remarry. But in our culture, we can't remarry. When you marry, that's it. You marry, you go to the next family, basically your husband's family, and that's your family now, technically their main family. And there's no such thing as really, that's the reason why they don't become sexless or they become distant but still married, because divorce is very looked down on. You divorce someone, it's like, well, is there something wrong with her? There's something wrong with him? There's something wrong with the kid? What's wrong? So then that brings shame to the family, so they never divorce. So he will have a girlfriend, maybe she can have a boyfriend, but her life will be secret. Like, no one can ever know that she had a boyfriend outside.
Wow.
But the public can know that he has a girlfriend. He's going like, well, the woman, it's okay.
Right.
It's kind of sexist in that way, but that's how it's always been. So we're used to that pattern. Even if in America, a lot of women still go through this. Not just the Asian culture. I feel other culture, like everyone has the same issue. You know your husband's cheating on you, but for him to cheat on you, it's almost he's a man. You can't stop that. Well, I can't be a woman apparently.
Yeah. Right.
But it looked down on us if we
Right.
cheat on our husband.
Right.
Yeah. Well, that's
No matter
almost
what
another
culture.
show.
There is a lot
Yes,
of that.
it's a
Yeah,
lot of that.
patriarchal,
Yeah, so there's a lot of
sexist,
that.
misogyny. Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you for saying that. Hierarchy. Let's
Yeah.
talk about the hierarchy in the Asian community. Thank you.
Okay,
Yes.
my pleasure.
So beside the oldest son, who basically treated like a prince, the oldest daughter is considered like the third parent in the house.
Okay.
You basically take care of the household just like how your parent would. So everything go through you and then to your rest of your brother and sister.
Okay.
But the most important child is the oldest son and is the oldest daughter. They basically run the house. The daughter basically run the house, but she had to keep everything perfect, right for the parent.
You run the house as the pseudo mother.
Basically.
Oh.
I can have
It's
more.
like preparing you for
For-
your job and your role
the rest of your
as
life.
Yes.
the wife and running a household.
Pretty much. Well,
Okay.
and my job is to teach my brother and sister the rule, but they're not expected to be extreme as me. I'm considered have to be the perfect example.
Oh,
If
wow.
I'm not a perfect example, then they can't shadow what I'm doing. So there's pressure on me to be perfect. Because if I'm not perfect, they can't be perfect. If they mess up, that means I'm in trouble because they mess up. So I'll be the one get punished, not them.
Which
Yeah,
is
it's a lot of
interesting
stress.
because as I listen to you talk about the culture and how education is pushed, a lot of times we see Asian young ladies graduating with these high degrees. Yeah, I'm like, what do they do when they make more money than their husband? Or is that even allowed?
It's almost not allowed. It's almost like instead of full time, I have to be part time. Or we
Excuse
don't
you?
talk about it. Like I make more money than my husband. We had to treat our husband like they're king somehow. If not, then the husband doesn't feel like a man. We can never let our man feel dismasculated.
Yeah.
So like even if our career is better, we had to silently be in our career and not show off.
I don't mean to cut you off, but there was Ali Wong. She in her stand up, she said that, and then she just went with it. She was like, "Yeah, I make more money than him," and she was like,
The
"Well,
comedian.
yes."
She's very, and she's right in that aspect because I follow her stuff too, and for her to be so blunt, she's so rare to be blunt about it.
Yes.
and it's so rare for her husband to be okay with it.
Yes.
Because in most situations, she would be divorced.
Oh.
Yeah, and then technically, most Asian women can never marry in their race again.
Oh wow.
Because it's looked upon us to not divorce. The divorce is shame. So if you remarry, then like you're not a virgin no more. You've already been taken. So most people who are in America, when they remarry a second time, they're American like a different race. They never remarry. If you
Very
notice that,
interesting.
if you notice that
I'm gonna
anybody
look now.
that remarry, they will remarry in a different race. They're never within their race. If they do, it's really rare. Or that other person had kids already, and they kind of combine. But it's really rare to see an Asian person divorce and marry an Asian person again.
Wow.
Even the male, even the husband,
The husband, no, doesn't go by. That go by for the woman.
just for the woman. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now,
Absolutely for the woman.
that made me think of something else because in her stand-up show, she talked about how she is looked at, or she was going to be looked at as the bad daughter, but previously her sister had that role because her sister was lesbian. So that makes me wonder, like within Vietnamese population, how are or is the LGBTQIA community looked at, or is there one?
The LGBT community is kept more like a silent. It's depending what country you're in, but some other countries are blunt with it. I won't say it used to be the longest time was very silent. We didn't talk about it, but the LGBT community is actually very popular now in our culture. Like it's very transsexual are very popular. It's everywhere pretty much. So we have a thing where like if you're gonna marry your wife, you gotta do a DNA background check almost. Because you gotta see if it's actually she or he.
But you say it's
Yeah.
popular, but is it accepted? Those are two completely
I
different
know.
No,
things.
it's I don't say no because it's not natural. It's not like what they're used to. But that would say the last generation. I think this generation is starting to ease into it and are okay with it. But I think it's shame on, but it's almost like they don't talk about it in the same sense.
Gotcha.
If it's a transsexual look completely like a woman, we'll treat her like her. and continue on in society and treat her who she is.
But that's a little different though
It's
than
a little
like gay,
hard.
like a gay male.
Like
A guy, a male who wants to be with another male, or a woman who wants to be with another woman. There's no there's no gender identity issue. It's a sexual orientation. Those
I
are
would say
different.
like people, since we're so private in a way, as long as it's not rubbing our face, people won't really. It's not talk on.
Okay.
It's like, I know you're dating her or you're dating him and you're same sex and everything. As long as it's not put in their face, rubbing their face, they're okay with it. It's more subtle.
Interesting.
So from what I've seen personally, it's more subtle. We don't come out and be like, hey, LGBT community, yay. We don't wave the flag.
Gotcha.
We're just human and we're just how we are.
That's I'm like.
But it's not accepted, but it's just we don't talk about it.
Well, it sounds like your culture.
Yeah.
You just don't talk about
Yeah,
it.
it's the culture itself.
But no, it sounds like many cultures.
Yeah.
Because there are a lot of things that many of us in our culture, we just don't talk about. I'm like, I have gay family members, and we don't talk about it as long as they don't bring their partner around the family. Can I just be real with you? We love them as family members, but as long as you don't bring your partner around, then we don't have a discussion about this. And that's true. So it doesn't just happen in Asian communities. But because we're almost running out of time, what I need to know, and I think all of us want to know as therapists, is, okay, how do you cope? And because that's important. Because you just put a lot on us about the things that you have to struggle with, and it is a lot of stress. How do you cope with it?
That's a good question. That has changed as I grew up. I want to say I have friends. You make friends, but I make friends outside my culture who really don't know nothing about it. So they help me see things from a different light. So I'll tell them this is what's going on. They're like, well, why don't you feel this way? Why don't you do this instead? So I want to say having friends was very important, because I feel like if I had certain friends, or I want to say certain people who, not my mother, but my fairy godmother changed throughout my life. And if I didn't have that figure to talk to, like an adult, I probably wouldn't be here today. Cause
You got a sounding board.
yeah,
Somebody to talk to. Yeah,
It's
I got you.
okay. I told you, you're still my girl.
Yeah. No, it's okay.
From the time I met you, that was your song. I think you are a beautiful young lady. You have a lot of potential, and you have a great life ahead of you. I'm touched that you would even want to share your story with us. Oh, please don't make me cry.
It's okay. It's okay. But the thing about it is, I got you. The thing about it is not only do you have potential, you're living through that potential now.
Yeah.
It's
Right.
not a future thing.
You're gonna
doing
yeah.
it right now.
It
With
takes-
the story that you were telling, I'm sorry. No, it's okay. It's with the story that you were telling. Like, these young girls are looking at you.
Yes.
You need to like take a second to be like, I'm doing it. Like, that's
Yes.
affirmation. I am
Yes.
doing it.
Yes.
Because you don't know what little nugget they're taking away. They may look at you and be like, what? But I'm telling you, they go home, they be like, I'm gonna be like her. I'm gonna be like her, but they don't tell nobody. You know what I mean? So
Gives them hope that there's
Yeah.
something different, that they have
Yeah.
a different path.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine how challenging it was to even get to this point for you. And I think it just takes so much courage and strength to do this. And I
Yes.
have to just go, woohoo. I mean, seriously. And I really
Yes.
appreciate you
Yeah.
talking about it.
I know. I mean, I really personally want to set an example. There's another way of doing things. There's a way. It's okay to feel how you feel, because
it's okay to feel.
yeah, and we're just all human at the end of the day. But it's almost like, it's in my culture, it's like being human is like not allowed almost.
Yeah.
But so I just personally just want to set an example, and like I want to be part of like the break, the movement of it's okay to talk and vent yourself and feel the way you do, because you're not alone. Because in my group, it's basically we feel alone because there's no one there.
Yeah.
Guess what? You're part of the movement already.
You are. And we're so proud of you. Yeah, I'm so proud of you. Thank you. This is awesome. You're going to help a lot of people. Let me just say that. I believe you're going to help a lot of people. You're going to touch a lot of people through your story, especially within the Asian community and a lot of communities, believe it or not. And I'm grateful to have you on the show. I know you ladies. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And so, do we still have enough time before I go on?
Yeah,
okay.
I just want to say something real quick if I
go
can,
ahead.
because the thing about it is, even though we were highlighting like the Asian community, I want you to know, to piggyback off of what she said, that you will help a lot of people, is that we have first generation individuals who are here. I myself am one. So some of the stories that you told, I understood it. Having to live that double life, I got it. Looking at people and be like, well, that's American. I got it. So it's not just the Asian community that you're helping, but you're helping all those first generation kids that are now adults that still had that funny little thing that they do because they were just accustomed to it, kind of break through their shell and be like, you know what? It's not just me. I'm not by myself.
I love that, Jules. Thank you. Shauna, you have anything you want to say?
I just again want to say how much I appreciate you coming on and sharing, and I just think that you're awesome.
You're amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're doing it, girl. You're doing it, and I'm so very proud of you. And we just want you to take care of you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Self-care.
Yes.
And it's okay. Just take care of you. And keep doing what you do, because you do it well. You do it well. And I'm honored again to have you on the show. For those of you all who do not know, she is also my oldest daughter's best friend. And you all have something in common, because she's got a little touch of Asian in her too. Yeah, with that. But she's my daughter's best friend. And she teaches me a lot. And I appreciate that as a therapist, because we often have conversations from a therapist standpoint, what I should expect if I get an Asian client. And that helps me out a lot. And just the idea that you had enough strength to come on camera and share all of this is wonderful. And I believe you're going to help therapists to understand the Asian community.
No, I agree 100%, because it's such a closed, quiet, and it helped me a lot as a therapist just to understand the culture better. And that's what we're all doing here, is just trying to get to know each other better and understand the background.
Right.
I think what it highlights, just the relationship that you're talking about, the personal relationship of you and her daughter, that's the human experience.
Yes.
Like the real human experience where we get to talk authentically and have these conversations, because that's how you get to know one another, rather than I'm over here and this is what I heard about you, so I'm going to stay over here with my preconceived notions about you. No, like, get in it. Let's talk. Tell me about this and tell me about that. And we get to know each other as humans, and that's the experience that we should be having, and not that other stuff, in my personal opinion.
I love it. We've enjoyed you, Mai. I could sit here and talk to you much, much more, and I'm sure we will talk to you a little bit more after the show is over. I want to thank you again for being here. We want to thank our guest, Mai Nguyen, for being on the show. Yes, thank you, Mai. As always, thank my beautiful co-hosts and what they add to the show. This has been a very emotional show for me, so we're going to get out of here. Join us next week as we continue to shine the light from a mental health perspective.
So we want to continue this discussion. As always, please visit our Intake Talk Show Facebook page.
Remember to continue to talk about mental health and how to make yours a priority.
If you're looking for more information about a topic that was discussed on one of our shows, please visit intake.tv and check out our resource page.
If you're a professional who would like to be on the show, or an individual who has struggled with mental health and would like to be a guest, email us at info@intake.tv.
Follow us on all of our social media platforms.
Intake is the place to be.
It's because